Woo! Oh man, what a game! What a game! Oh, I'm still a little worn out, from watching the game and then celebrating. It was a lot. It was a lot. No, but I mean, honestly, fantastic game. But I'm stressed throughout most of the game again because the lack of finishing. Just it's been a problem, and we really struggled to put this game away for most of the game. I mean, second half was practically ours, but those misses leads to doubts, and you're just kind of sitting there going, please don't let this come back to haunt us. Please don't let this come back to haunt us. Because, I mean, with the quality that Real Madrid has, there's always that chance that they can pick one off just out of nothing. I mean, they did it last week, too. So, yeah, just all of the misses kind of led to a lot of stress for the second half. And once the goal finally went in, the second one, it was just relief watching over me. But yeah, all in all, I mean, fantastic game. And it's a great setup for us, too, because obviously Man City right now are playing really well. I mean, the games against PSG, both of them, both legs were very well played. They really saw how to neutralize the threat. However, the one thing that I will say about Tuchel, I'm still a little frustrated at times because it feels like we lack some going forward power. It feels like he hasn't quite figured out how to get us clicking in the final third. But defensively, we're very solid, and it feels like when we go up against the top teams, teams that are very high quality, he knows how to play those games. He knows how to set us up to really neutralize the threat and then get us going forward in such a way that allows us to create so many chances that eventually one of them will go in. I mean, we've seen it a few times now against Liverpool in the league, against Man City in the semifinal, against Real Madrid over both legs. I mean, he really set us up in a way that kind of counterattacking on them. We're letting them come on to us, but we're defending well. Everybody's doing their jobs defensively, and then we get the ball out and we go quickly and we create chances. And the only thing that's been lacking again is just that finishing touch, because it really could have been 4-5 nothing today if we had just been a little bit more what's the word I'm looking for, clinical in the final third. But yeah, fantastic setup today, and just the way we played, the team effort to everybody defending together. I mean, it was fantastic. It was a great watch, even if it was very nerve wracking for most of the second half. But as far as Tuchel's lineup and everything, I didn't really have a problem with any of it. The only thing that I personally would have done differently is Pulisic instead of Havertz, just because I mean Pulisic in this game would have probably run the Real Madrid defense ragged. I mean, Werner was already running them ragged, and Havertz, he's not a bad player. I mean, he had a great game today, but I feel like Pulisic would have been more suited to this game. I feel like he would have provided a little bit more going forward than Havertz would have or did today. Because there were some times where I felt like Havertz he has some pace, but he's not quick like Pulisic can be. So there were moments where it felt like if he were just a little bit quicker, we might have been able to create a chance. But instead, he does well to keep possession and he does look to keep the ball. But there were a couple times where I'm thinking, if we just had one more quick player up top, we would have probably fashioned a chance and maybe a goal out of it. So that's about the only change. But like I said, I mean, Havertz played fine, and then Pulisic does come on in the second half. For Werner was a little bit of an odd choice. I mean, I thought Werner was doing his job very well again, but I mean, we still created a lot of chances. There was a lot of good movement. I feel like when Werner is not in and you've got Havertz as kind of your false nine, if Mount is playing behind him, I think it still works well enough because Mount is very good with his movement and he opens up spaces for Havertz and Pulisic. Whereas, when he tried Ziyech, Pulisic, and Havertz up there, all three of them are kind of the same type of player. So they all look to make the same runs. Whereas Mount, his runs, you never really know what to expect. He was willing to make almost any type of run. So it keeps the defense guessing. So that sub, again, I felt like it should have been Pulisic for Havertz, but it still worked out fine. And then, James comes on to give Dave a break. Who's the other one that came on? Ziyech came on to give Mount a break, and then he brought on Zuma and Giroud last minute, just kind of a time wasting sub. But yeah, I mean overall though, as far as formation and setup and style, I mean, he had us ready to play Real Madrid. He had us ready to do exactly what we needed to do to work together as a team and make sure we got the job done. And we did in great fashion. I mean, winning 2-0, getting a clean sheet against Real Madrid, that's no small feat. So, yeah, I feel like it was a fantastic management from Tuchel today. Individuals. So Mendy, I've had my problems with him recently just because of, there have been a couple games where I feel like he maybe slacked a little bit. A couple times his passing hasn't been great. Flawless today. I mean, his passing was on point. His catching, his saves, his commanding his box. I mean, all of it. It was just exactly what we needed today. I mean, for the first time in a while, I feel like I'm watching a world-class keeper. And that's not to say that he's not shown moments of that, but today was the first time I've seen it throughout the entire game. Like, I cannot think of a moment where he put a foot wrong. And that's what we need more from. I mean, to have that assurance in the back where, I mean, basically, if they're going to take a shot from outside the box, it feels okay. A couple times it was worrying just because we know the quality that they have, and so it can be a little concerning to see them lining up a shot from outside the box. But it just, I don't know, whenever Kepa was in goal, anytime I see anybody lining up a shot outside the box, I'm clenching because I'm worried. With Mendy, I hardly feel that. It's very rare that I'm sitting here going, please don't let him shoot. Now I'm just like, yeah, go on. Let him have a shot, and he'll get a hand to it. He'll catch it, no problem. He'll be on it. That's how it felt today. It was phenomenal. I mean, the saves that he made, and a lot of that comes down to the defense as well, because they did a good job of making sure he didn't have any trouble in front of him. There was the one header from Benzema where he got in behind, but aside from that, I think there was one shot from Hazard, but it was like he was practically on the end line and trying to have a shot. Everything else was outside the box, and Mendy was like, I got that, no problem. So, yeah, it was a great game from him, great game from the back three. All three of them, I thought, played well together. Rudiger, he did venture forward a little bit, and there were a couple moments where I felt like maybe a little too much. But, I mean, defensively, he worked his butt off, and he's just got this style about the way he defends that it can look a little erratic and sometimes a little scary when he goes into a challenge. But, I mean, he's strong, he's fast, and he's doing very, very well for himself right now. And he's really kind of putting to bed any criticisms that people had from last season. It feels like a lot of those moments are gone, and part of that is down to you've got Silva behind him, who's doing a good job of organizing everything. I mean, to have that kind of calm and intelligent defender in the middle of a back three, it just feels so nice, and I wish more teams would figure this out. If you're going to go with a back three, you got to have somebody in the middle that's going to read the game well, because he's most of the time going to be the one that's going to be talking to everybody. Unless you're going with more of a stopper, but most of the time if you're going with the back three, you want those three to be your three defenders, and they're going to be shutting down everything. And Silva, the way he reads the game, he's able to shut down anything that comes his way. And he's also talking to Christensen, and he's also talking to Rudiger, and he's making sure they're shutting down anything that's coming their way. So it's just, his impact on our team has been phenomenal. And it's been one of the probably more underrated performances throughout the season, because a lot of times, you don't really see a great defender's performance because they just do their job so well that it's not even really that big of a deal. So there are some times where he just makes a simple header, but if you watch what he did before to make sure he was in the position to win that header, I mean, what he does there is just so underrated. And so he's just calmly doing his job, making sure we're solid in the back, making sure the players around him are doing their jobs well. And it's a great feeling. It's a great feeling to have that type of defender in the middle of the three. And then Christensen on the right side had one of his best games of the season, in my opinion. I mean, he's had ups and downs. He's had a couple rough performances recently where I feel like he's sort of gotten pulled out of position too many times, or isn't really reading the game well. But today I thought he was, he went into a couple early challenges that were a little reckless. Pretty lucky not to have a first yellow on that Hazard, and then got himself a yellow later. So I'm sure some Real Madrid fans will be out there saying, he should have been sent off. He should have gotten a yellow on that one, and then he got a yellow on that one. He should have been gone. But I mean, to be fair, if he gets a yellow on the Hazard one, he probably doesn't go into Nacho later on in the game. But aside from those couple of risky challenges, I mean, he was just shutting down everything that came his way, and very effectively too. So it was a great performance from him. Azpilicueta, I mean, if you want proof that he had a great game today, I'm pretty sure Tuchel was ready to sub him at about 75 or somewhere in that range. And then he managed to stay on until like the 86th minute or something like that. Like, he was on there for a while longer because he made a run up, and the commentators were talking about it. They're like, "Oh, he's looking winded. Yep, James is getting stripped to come on." And they cut to James taking off his penny like he's about to get subbed because, I mean, he did look like he was tired. He was huffing, running back because he just made a like sprinting run down the line. But then like the next 5-10 minutes, he's shutting down Hazard, and then he's taking on Asensio, and he's just nothing's getting past him. So he is worn out. He has just exhausted himself, but he's got that second wind and he's going again. It's what I love about this Azpilicueta. I mean, he's such a solid defender. You don't ever have to worry about anything. And while he does lack a little bit going forward, I felt like he was getting in good positions today. The final pass, the quality isn't quite there, but that's, I mean, kind of expected, unfortunately, because he is more of a defender. But he can put in a quality ball every now and then. It happens occasionally. And he just works so hard for the team that it's no wonder that he's still our captain, because he does so much to kind of get everybody going and push them up and get the fire instilled in him, because he's working so hard and it makes everybody else around him want to work hard to get up to that level too. So, yeah, great performance from him. Chilwell, probably, I would say probably not our weak. I don't want to call him our weak link, but of everybody out there on the pitch, he's probably the one that I remember the least of. Now, then again, he did do some good stuff. He got down the line well. He, got in good positions. He sent in some decent crosses every now and then. But I don't really remember much from him. I feel like defensively he did okay. There were a couple times he got beat by Vicinius, but once Vicinius went off, I mean, I can't remember him getting beat again. But it was just that pace that he struggled to deal with. But he still did well even after getting beat. He did well to get back behind the ball, make sure that even if he did get beat, it wasn't a he's beat and then they're in on goal. It's a he's beat, but now he's tracked back and he's worked hard to make sure he's behind the ball again, and he's working to push them further wide. So I feel like he did his job well. If I were giving a rating like a 1 through 10, I'd probably give him a 6 because he just did his job well enough. No problems from him, but nothing really to say I remember his performance. It was just kind of an okay performance. But it's not a bad thing. I'm just saying everybody else was playing so well that he's the one I'm just kind of like, I don't remember what he did well today. It just seemed like he was out there and defending decently enough. So, Jorginho, if we had the typical Jorginho today, this game probably would have felt a lot different. But today was Jorginho in form. When he plays well, when he plays like this is why so many people rate him highly. Unfortunately, I don't see enough of this for me to feel the same way about him, but I got to appreciate whenever he puts in a good performance, and today was fantastic. I mean, so many moments where he's reading the play, he's making good interceptions, he's putting in challenges in the midfield. His passing sometimes comes off great, sometimes not, but it's still mostly consistent. He's still a consistent passer of the ball. He still finds the right passes. He keeps possession when we need to. He kind of calms down our passing in the back whenever it's looking a little sporadic. He does all that very well, and whenever he's reading the play and he's intercepting and making challenges, he looks like he can be a good defensive midfielder, but the problem is I don't see enough of this type of performance from him. But save the criticisms for another day, because he played really well, and he was, obviously Conte is going to get man of the match, but Jorginho put in a solid performance in the midfield too that is probably going to get overlooked, but in my opinion deserves a lot of praise for what he did today. But yeah, let's talk about Conte. The man is just, phenomenal. He's a phenomenal player, and he shows it time and time again. Everything he does, his hard work, his play off the ball, his play on the ball, sometimes. I mean, he's just a phenomenal player. And whenever he's given license to be the defensive midfielder that we know he can be, I mean, the other team can never play through the midfield because they got to go through Conte, and they can't. So it ends up being they got to take it out wide, and then you're facing off against Aspilicueta, who's going to shut down those things, or Chilwell, who's going to at least lead you into Rudiger, who's going to shut you down. So it's just, it makes it so nice to have that player that's just, nothing's coming through the midfield. You're going to try. You're going to think you can make it through the midfield, but then all of a sudden Conte appears out of nowhere. he beams in and he's just there. And then you blink and he's gone. So, yeah, the only problem that he has is just in the final third, he's not the best. And there are times that it shows, like when he's one-on-one and he can't score. Then again, I mean, two of your attacking players had one-on-one opportunities that they didn't score either. But for Conte, it's a little bit more expected. When he gets in that final third, you're just hoping that he can find a pass or at least just hold on to possession and allow people to get up and help him. But, I mean, I don't want Conte to be an attacking player. I think he's not really supposed to be an attacking player, so I much prefer whenever he's just making those blocks and clearances in front of our defense. That just keeps everything nice and easy for us. The front three, kind of an interesting, I don't know, like rating-wise, they all played well, but they also had moments where I was frustrated. Havertz, I mean, I thought he played well today. I thought he was really putting in some good challenges. And some of the problems he had early on playing for us is that you could tell he wasn't quite up to that same strength that the Premier League has. You know, oftentimes he's getting knocked off the ball too easily, or he's looking for a foul and the refs aren't giving it. And it just felt like it was happening a few too many times early on. But, I mean, today he's putting in some good challenges. I mean, he's going shoulder to shoulder with Sergio Ramos, not shoulder to soldier with Sergio. I don't know. Now I'm tongue-tying myself trying to say a tongue twister. Yeah, but I mean, he's putting in good challenges. He's working hard. He's not getting knocked off the ball that easily. And he's busting it. And I like to see that from him. Because whenever he does that, he looks unstoppable. You know, there are several moments where I'm thinking the defender has the ball and all of a sudden he turns on a little bit of pace and he's just beating them to it. I think he has that in his locker. He just doesn't show it as much as he probably could. So if he can keep showing those moments, especially throughout the entire game instead of just in bits and pieces here and there, I think he's definitely worth the price tag that we paid for him. On as far as in front of the goal, this is where, again, it's kind of a mixed bag for all three of them. Because, I mean, phenomenal ability to get there. On the first goal, I mean, great chip. You know, it was just unlucky, little too hard, hits off the top the crossbar, but then Werner cleans it up. But it was a nice effort. Cross comes in from, I think it was Aspilicueta, header to the near post. Courtois beat, but just barely hits the top of the crossbar. Unlucky, but good effort. One-on-one chance with Courtois, and you fluff it. I mean, I realize he's big, and he makes himself big, and that's one of the things that makes Courtois a good keeper. But, calm head, it should be an easy, you find your way around him, or tell Werner to stay back and then slip him in behind, but instead he just puts it right onto his foot. It's got to be better. So he still has those moments where it feels like he loses himself in the final third, or when he gets in the box, he doesn't quite know what to do with it. So it's kind of a mixed bag with him. Werner, obviously he got his goal today, and he worked hard. He did well a lot of the build-up play came through him, through his ability to run at the defense or to run in behind and put decent challenges in. I mean, his pace just tore them apart for most of the first half and, you know, when he was in the second half. But, you know, there are moments where it feels like he gets into those spaces, he gets that run on, and he takes a bad touch. Or his touch takes him wide instead of maybe holding it up for a second, see what his options are. His first touch is too quick and he just takes it wide, and now the play is done because they've all dropped back into the box. So kind of a mixed bag from him as well. Mount worked hard today. I mean, was all over the pitch, got himself a goal, which was very well taken. And I mean, he really put a lot of pressure on the defense. Because he's a player that you can't just leave alone. Because if you do, then he's going to find a pass. You got to make sure you have high pressure on him. And even then, you can't put too much pressure because he's good at getting out of a challenge real quickly. However, one-on-one with the keeper, skies it. Several moments where it feels like you've got an option on. He's coming across the top of the box. You've got somebody back post, or you just slip somebody in behind, and he's shooting right into the defender right in front of him. So they're just those moments of the lack of being clinical in the box that all three of them had today. So it's not like they played poorly. They all played well. I mean, the work from them, the attacking intent from them was great. And I loved watching it. But those decision-making skills in the final third have to improve. Because we're not always going to be so defensively solid. There's going to be games where we're going to lack a little bit, or the other team's going to get that lucky bounce that puts them one ahead early on, or maybe the keeper makes a great save but then rebounds off the post and somebody else was alive to it. I mean, there's so many instances where we could easily concede, so we got to make sure that we put enough ahead to where it's like it's not even a problem. Our defense doesn't even have to worry because we've done our job in the final third. So that's where I feel like all three of them, they've got to improve. So it's a minor criticism, but it's still something to focus on because we've got two finals to look ahead to. So we've got to make sure that we put ourselves in a good position early on and we don't squander all of our chances and then they nick a late one or something like that. And even, chasing the Final Four, several of these last games, we've got to make sure that we're solid enough to where we can compete in both finals, but also make sure we stay in the top four because we want to be in Champions League next year. So, as far as the subs that came on, Pulisic, like I said, this game was his game. Real Madrid are chasing, especially after they go a goal down. Now they're chasing even more. And so he has the freedom to just run. And it's games like this that he thrives because there's so much space for him to run into. There's so much space in behind the defense that he can flick himself onto. It's great. That's why I don't understand why he didn't start. But yeah, whenever he came on in the second half, it was mostly coming through him. Any of our attacking play was mostly through him because he just has that ability to find space, to run into that space, and especially if he's one-on-one and there's space in behind the defender, that's even more dangerous for him to run into. So, yeah, fantastic performance from him, even though he played part of the second half. Still great play and really what drove us forward for most of the half. And then James and Ziyech came on, and at that point the game was kind of already done, 2-0 up. So they just came on, did their jobs well enough, and of course Giroud and Zuma came on and just again a time wasting sub. But yeah, it's a great feeling. We're in the final again. We're in the final of the Champions League. We're in the final of the FA Cup. We're looking like we're running away with one of the top four positions, hopefully, if we can keep our momentum because the teams around us are slipping up a little bit. It feels great. So if Tuchel can just figure out how to solve that, whether it's changing personnel or bringing in new personnel in the summer. Obviously, I don't think changing formation or changing tactics now is a good idea because we have worked so well with these tactics. Aside from the West Brom game where we just turned off after the red card, we've looked dominant. We've looked unbeatable. Even in the games where we're not finishing, we still don't look like we're conceding anything. So I don't think now is the time to change much in the formation. I still think if he tries out Giroud or Abraham in the games where we know the team's going to pack it in against us, I still think that would be effective. I want to see that given a try before the end of the season. But when it comes to these bigger games where we're facing a Manchester club or Liverpool or Leicester, I wanted to make some sort of joke about Tottenham or Arsenal, but really, they've already been beaten down enough. I'll let them have this one. I won't put any more misery on them. But he's figured out how to play these games and set us up well enough to where we don't really have to worry about it. So it's a great feeling. I'm going to go celebrate some more. Hopefully you guys are too. But let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts on the game? Let me know. We can talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Chelsea reviews. I'll see you guys at the next game. Peace out.